Today we are comparing the 2025 Subaru Outback to the 2025 Subaru Forester. Now, a few years back, I made a video comparing the 2021 model years of each of these vehicles, but some things have changed since then, and so I felt we are due for an updated video. So today we're going to compare the two models. I'm going to share about 10 differences, some key differences between them, and what may help you in your decision between choosing one of these Subaru models. If you are new to my channel, my name is Alex. I like to share weekly videos all on Subaru related vehicles, tips and tricks that can help you learn everything there is to know about your Subaru. If you'd like to follow along, consider clicking that subscribe button down below. And if you have any questions, leave those down below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. When someone is looking for a Subaru SUV, the Outback and the Forester are the two most commonly compared. These two have a lot of similarities, but there are some key differences that you need to know about. First up, let's talk about the size. Comparing the size of these two models can sometimes be confusing, but I'm going to clear that up right now. A lot of people will look at the Forester and say this is the bigger vehicle because it has a taller roof, but that's not actually the case. The Subaru Outback is about 9 inches longer in the cargo area and about 2 inches wider in width. So really, whenever you compare those dimensions, even though the roof is a little bit shorter on the Outback, this is going to be the slightly larger vehicle. Now, they both have the exact same ground clearance. They both have 8.7 inches of ground clearance on the bottom of the car. So they're both just as capable, and they both have the standard all-wheel drive system that Subaru is known for. Both the Forester and the Outback have 5 seats available, but the Forester has slightly taller seats. So even when lowered all the way down to the base of the car, the seat on the Forester is going to sit up just slightly higher, and you are going to have more headroom in the Forester with those larger windows. Compare that to the Outback that has the smaller windows, and you will see the roof sits a little bit lower and the seat sits just slightly lower. This can make a difference for those who have trouble getting in and out of the car. If you like sliding in, you may like one model over the other based on how that feels to you. And when we compare the cargo space of each of these, the Subaru Forester cuts off right at about that 36-inch mark, right by the latch. Whereas when we look at the Outback, we have 36 inches and more room to spare. So if you're looking for something that is going to be both longer and just a couple inches wider in the cargo area, the Outback is the way to go. Another unique feature with the Subaru Outback they've had for many years now are these quick release levers. It's one of those things that I've really enjoyed about my Outback. So no matter if you have a base trim or the highest touring trim, you have these quick release levers that drop those seats down without having to reach up there to press the button. So it makes it really easy when you're loading things up like golf clubs or gardening equipment. And then if you go over here to the Forester, you can also fold the seats down flat, but not all of them have the quick release levers. You'll see, for example, this is a premium trim. It's among kind of the lower trim level of the Subaru Forester. You have to reach forward and release the levers here. Not a big deal, but it is one of those things to consider when you're talking about ease of use. Now, if you go with a Subaru Wilderness Limited or the Touring, I believe all three of those in those higher trim levels have the quick release levers on the side here. Both models come standard with Subaru's 4-cylinder Boxer 2.5 liter engine, non-turbo, but you do have the option to get a turbo engine in the Subaru Outback. So if you do want a little bit more horsepower and torque, you can get that with Subaru's Outback in the XT motor. When you compare the two non-turbo engines, the fuel efficiency is very similar. You've got an average of 28 miles per gallon on the Outback and an average of 29 miles per gallon on the Forester. Of course, if you bump up to that turbo engine in the Subaru Outback, you're gonna see lower fuel economy, averaging somewhere around 26 miles per gallon. Now, before you get upset with me in the comments and say, hey Alex, I've got a turbo or I've got the non-turbo and I'm not getting those fuel ratings that you mentioned that are on Subaru's window stickers, well, that's because that is just a baseline. Those tests are done in a controlled environment, likely with no wind resistance, hard acceleration or hard braking. And the reality of it is, when we're driving out there in the real world on the highway or in the inner city, you've got quick acceleration, you're trying to pass people, you've got wind and rain and weather coming at you that is going to impact your fuel efficiency, especially if you are running your heat or AC at full blast. That's all going to impact how good your fuel rating is. When we talk about the engine performance of either of these models, it's also worth noting the towing capabilities. So on the 2.5 liter Outback, you can tow up to 2,700 pounds, but if you bump up to that turbo engine, you can tow up to 3,500 pounds. Now with the Subaru Forester, it has pretty much always been up to 1,500 pounds on that 2.5 liter engine. However, they do have the wilderness trim now. It does have the gearing and the additional transmission cooler that equips it with more towing capabilities. You can tow up to 3,000 pounds on that Forester Wilderness Edition. Another key area that I think is really unique when you compare the Outback to the Forester is in how the roof rails are designed. So Subarus are, of course, known for being great travel cars and cars that you can put your luggage, your bikes, your kayaks on top. And with the Outback, it is the only model that still has these quick release levers to put your crossbars in place. So here's how easy it is to put your crossbars in place on your Subaru Outback. Compared to the Subaru Forester that has these static roof rails, you have the aero crossbars that you can get on top, but it requires taking a screwdriver to be able to loosen these up, to adjust them or to remove them whenever you're not using them. If you do get the Outback in the Wilderness trim, it does not have the retractable crossbars, but it does have these beefier roof rail systems that can accommodate things like a rooftop tent. Speaking of the roof on both of these models, the Forester I think really shines in this area because it has the large panoramic moonroof that reaches in to the passenger area, gives you that nice open airiness feeling, gives you that natural sunlight when you want it, even in the wintertime, but you can open it up in the summertime for you and your passengers to enjoy. Whereas with the Outback, you get the smaller moonroof. You can still open it up and you can still use it for natural lighting, but it's just much smaller and you don't get quite the same experience when you're in the car, and it does make it feel a little more confined. The Forester was upgraded in 2025 to now include this 11.6-inch touchscreen display, like the Subaru Outback has had since the 2020 model year. Now, if you do get a base trim on either the Forester or the Outback, you're not going to have this display. You're going to have two smaller 7-inch displays that looks like this. On all but the base trim for both vehicles, you now have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This was a first for the 2025 Forester and first was introduced on the 2023 Outback. The benefit to the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is that now when you get in the car and you want to use Google Maps up on the display, you don't have to connect your phone to the USB input down below. Instead, having already connected your phone, it will automatically connect to the car when you hop in each day. If you want to see a video on how to connect your Subaru to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, click on the YouTube card above to the right where I'll show you exactly how to do this and all the cool features that are involved in that. I'm a big fan of this storage area down below the touchscreen on the 25 Subaru Forester, especially when you compare that to the 25 Outback. So with the Forester, you have this large area where you can store items like a notebook, or it even doubles as a wireless charging pad for your phone. You have an on-off switch for it, so whenever you're using this and you want to charge your phone, you can power it on, or if you don't want to use that, you can turn it off. The Outback is lacking in that area because it doesn't have a lot of space here. As you can see, there's no space, and whenever you do get the wireless charging pad put in, it takes up all of the space that's already lacking. I have the 23 Outback with this same setup, and unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of that, and something that I hope to see change for the 2026 model year Outback. Speaking of the 2026 Subaru Outback, they will be releasing details on that in the next coming months, and I will be posting videos on that, so stay tuned and subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all that. The Forester Touring does have a unique feature. When you're backing up, you can use this 360 camera by clicking the view button to be able to see a bird's eye view of your car. So you can see how close you are to the lines, make sure you're lining up in your parking space, make sure you're not bumping into anybody. Also, if you're parallel parking, this is really useful for parking your Subaru. The Outback does not have this 360 camera Hopefully that will be added with the 2026 model year, but that remains to be seen. It can be a lot to compare both of these models because there are a lot of similarities, but as you've seen, there are quite a few differences. Let me know down in the comment section below, which Subaru model would you go for? Or are there more differences that I didn't point out in today's video? I'm sure you can think of some. Let me know. We'll keep the discussion going. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one.